create more government. I mean, if we're doing this to save money and then turning around and creating another committee that's going to take up more time and everything to do the same job that's currently being done, I'm not sure that's a wise thing either.
No prudency in that.
You know, I really think it takes a little more study. I think there's definitely a large lack of communication between the school and the access center.
I mean, sure, there's things that they could do better. They can communicate better, and I think communication is extremely important. But we're talking about eliminating a position, and a position of somebody that steers the wheel, drives the car.
Taking personal people out of that. Well, anybody you took out anyway is somebody who's trying to do the best job they can do, and you don't want to see that happen to anybody.
Okay. Well, if you look at the whole situation, here it's a cost savings. Okay, so that's why the town and Dave Kieran asked him to look at it.
Maybe it's a cost saving.
Maybe it's a cost saving, but what you have to look at is the function of the cable access and the function of the school. Now, if the school takes it over, they're going to do a great job. Do we know that? We don't know that. Are we going to save money? Maybe, maybe not. But you have to look at the facts of what it is today. That was one thing they looked at. I'd like to understand what else we have in the wings for consolidation or cost savings between the town and the school system. Because I can't believe that this is the only thing that we can look at for cost reduction. Now, it doesn't matter to me who's running it. Yes, it's a great cable station. Dottie's done a fabulous job. But the function is, you know, is it a cost savings truly? And is it the only one on the table? And you have to look, is it being run very well today? Are we paying for it to be run today? You know, are things going to change if we change the way the cable access is run? If we allow the schools to take it over, is Comcast going to come back and say, "Hey, that's not wasn't written that way, so now you don't get your fees"? So now
there's going to be a lawsuit.
So I just, you know, I think it has to be taken into consideration as to the you know.
Well, it is a gamble, and you know you don't want to gamble with everybody else's money. Yeah, there's a 5% fee that comes out of everybody's cable bill that goes to, but if you combine it with the school, who's to say that the school is going to take some of the money from the cable center, or the cable center is going to take some money from the school? I mean, either way, you might get quality taken away from either one. Is it worth maybe $40,000? Which I don't think you'd see that savings anyway. But
okay, well, Chris brought something up that was interesting, though. You said that you'd like to look at other things where the town and the school could combine their efforts and perhaps save the town some money. This is a topic that's been on the table for over 2.5 years. Sean, you mentioned that during a budget school board and town council meeting, joint meeting, when you were on the budget committee 2 years ago, this was brought up. Are you the type of person that is going to move things forward, or is it going to be something that's going to, you know, this seems like a snail's pace, that this is the first, you know, point of consolidation that has been brought up?
So, yeah, I think we need to take,
I think, you know, having seen a lot of the things that I see, and I'm sure everybody here has seen it, I've seen so much in business, you know, where, like you said, you're in charge of, like, for me, I'm in charge of, right now, a budget. I have 3 employees under me, and I'm in charge of money, in essence, instead of people. Like, when I was managing other facilities, it was people and product. Now it's people. Well, unfortunately, in our world, people, unfortunately, do take things to the personal side. In a small town, more so than a big city, all right? And, I mean, you know, we look at Boston right now. They're looking at possibly laying off 400 teachers because they're looking for money that they don't know where it's coming from. Well, that's a lot of teachers, and I'm sure that, you know, some way they'll find the money for it. But again, what it comes down to in today's world is sometimes you have to make those decisions. Whether, and I know what Dottie's done, and I appreciate that. I see what Dottie's done. She's seen what Dottie's done. Everybody has. But sometimes you have to look outside of that. It's an outside-the-box thing. Sometimes you have to look at it from the point of, well, does it make sense anymore? Sometimes you have to change it. There's going to be hurt feelings. There's going to be people upset. Evidence of that was that meeting. But that's inevitable, and it's unavoidable. But you have to look at it on a whole.
When I sat through the presentation on the budgeting committee, they talked about software, and they talked about, well, this software package we utilize and that software package we utilize, and that's a big, huge reason. I mean, that's one of our advisors came back and said that's one of the biggest reasons why. Buy another software package, train people, look to the future, look at what the savings will be tomorrow. Maybe you'll have to spend a few, you know, in this economic times, people don't think of that. It's like when you're trying to, you know, bring people in the door in my business. You don't start cutting out your marketing budget. You make sure you spend the money on the marketing budget, because that's going to tell people you're out there. Come in, look what I have to offer you. Okay, so this is to say on the same thought process, is that right now we have to look into combining those efforts. We got to look into those soft. If that's all it is, hey, I'll get online and find a software package myself that can.
But we should be
you know what I mean?
Go back to what we were talking about.
We shouldn't be, you know, looking for reasons why we can't do it. Instead, saying we can do it and go out there and make those changes to.
But what you have to look at too is that's important is you have Drew, for instance, who's a technical engineer, and he, as I point that out, he apparently knows what he was talking about with advances. There was just no communication with Nate Greenberg regarding that. He was not aware that they were already doing some of those things, is what you're trying to say, which is a fair point.
Communication.
Exactly. But, and I certainly understand your point when it comes to when you have to cut them, you have to cut them. That's just, at that point, it really isn't about feelings. When I looked at that, I didn't look at Dottie. I looked at the proposal.
I understand that.
And there's some holes there, so
earlier,
you have to just kind of, my point is you have to come together with that and make sure,
but as I
is
said
the
earlier,
proposal going to work?
That was the first pass at it. It was the first discussion of it. There were some things missed. That was one of
There were a
them.
lot of very vague things in that
Yes,
proposal.
it was very vague.
But again,
And
the also,
That's the only-
everything
It
that
can
says
work.
what should have been done also was Dave Karen should have been sitting right next to Nate so that Nate wasn't being singled out like he was this bad guy.
I don't think Nate,
It appeared to me like that's how it went down.
I think-
they both should have been there. They both should have presented it.
I think it was,
That's how
I
it should have
think it was
happened.
shameful, in my perspective, that the people that blogged about this and the people that talked about this weren't at the meeting, first of all. And second of all, if you care about something and everyone knew that they were going to have this reprieve with, or not reprieve, this, how do I say it? They were going to oppose it. They knew this. So then why didn't you have people there who were going to make sure they defended that? Because that's where Nate was left.
Well, from
I
my
don't
perspective,
disagree. I just defended that. I just told you that the way it was handled was poor.
I'm going to tell my side here because to break in, I am the person that will look forward and find other avenues.
Exactly. You
of,
have to find
you
a
know,
way.
I don't. Cable aside, there are 1,000 things we can look at to consolidate to save money across the town and the school.
And they
So
spent
yes,
$12,000
I will be the
to do
person,
that.
I think that will help move that forward because once you make a decision, let's move on.
What
Once
was the
it's over,
$12,000
move on.
spent on?
And you're right.
I'll
And
tell
you're
you in a
right.
second.
Unfortunately, half the town cries, you know, cut taxes, cut taxes, cut taxes, slash, slash, slash. The other side of the town doesn't want to lose any of its services. And it's difficult. And I certainly understand the ramifications. You have a 5-person council trying to make decisions that affect the lives of 25,000 people. And I don't have any problem with, you know, cutting a tax here or there, but you have to
get the biggest bang for your
investigate the
buck.
situation. Exactly.
We have to
what
get
is
You have
it-
to look long term.
What is the most important thing in your opinion then? Is maintaining the services or cutting the taxes?
I think you have to look at each thing individually.
Combination.
Which, if you cut a service, which service could you cut that's going to affect the least people the least?
For the most amount of money.
You know,
What can
to
you live
Dan-
without?
To Dan's point, he's absolutely correct. We witnessed similar things when I was on the planning board. During the master plan steering committee, people would come in, and one of the big things was affordable housing. I sat there and I listened to person after person say, gee, my children can't afford to live in town. 2 weeks later, we're looking at a site plan for affordable housing. Those same people were standing there telling us, well, this is a great site plan, but we don't want it next to our house because it's going to lower our property values.
Not in my backyard.
Unfortunately, as a counselor, we need to make the choices. We need to look at everything.
The hard choices.
The hard choices, and we cannot be everything to everyone. And yes, we need to move forward on this. We need to look at other avenues,